Hi there, SK. This is Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT, right? So you are doing my free TOEFL speaking practice test evaluation, and I believe you're answering the first question here. What is better when preparing for an exam, studying alone or studying with a group? And remember, please consider making a donation to support the operating costs of this service. So you can just click on the link here or PayPal me at Buckoff to make that donation. Alright, so let's take a look at what we have here. I'm going to listen to your response right now, and let's see how you answered this question. Now, I'm going to listen to it one time without saying anything at all, and then the second time I'll give you my impressions and listen to your speech one last time.
Alone rather than studying in a group. Prefer studying alone rather than studying in a group, because if we study in a group, we tend to study with people whom we are close with, and when we study with close friends, we tend to talk more and we'll have fun by cracking jokes and not concentrating on studies that much. And this will lead us to cover a short amount of material in a large amount of time, and even our concentration levels are less. But if we study alone, we'll be able to concentrate more, so we'll be able to cover more topic in a short amount of time. And this type of concentration is really useful for us to remember things in a long term. So I prefer studying alone rather than studying with a group.
Okay, so my impression here is, I just listened to your response the first time. I'm going to put you at about 2.6 out of 4, 20 points out of 30. So overall, you have some pretty major delivery issues, right? That's one of the main things that you're going to want to work on right now. And the first thing that comes to my mind is your intonation. You really got to work on varying your tone more than what you are. You're speaking in more of a monotone, probably somewhat similar to what you do in your first language, but in English you want to vary your tone more than what you're doing. Another area you want to work on with delivery is the pronunciation of your T and your D consonant sounds. You want to make sure you're pronouncing those as distinctly different sounds in English. Okay, let's listen to your response one more time.
Prefer studying alone rather than studying in a group, because if we study in a group, we tend to study with people whom we are close with, and when we study with close friends, we tend to talk more and we'll have fun by cracking jokes and not concentrating on studies that much.
I would say, and do not concentrate on our studies instead of and not concentrating on our studies. I'd probably say it that way. The other problem is, you're just kind of going into your speech without an introduction. You need an introduction to help frame what's happening in the response, right? So obviously you like studying alone. So in the beginning you need some introduction that maybe introduces 2 points. You might say, because I can score higher in the tests and I can have fewer distractions, I prefer to study alone when preparing for exams. Then you say, first of all, I prefer to study alone because I can concentrate better on my studies. And then you explain that, then you move to your next point and kind of go from there.
And this will lead us to cover a short amount of material in a large amount of time.
So you're covering a short amount of material in a large amount of time. And can you be more specific than that? How about bring up an example of a class that you took, and maybe in that class you chose to study in a group as opposed to studying alone, and you can share through that example how it didn't work out very well.
And even our concentration levels are less. But if we study...
Now how about this? Instead of saying but, say however. So when you finish your first reason, pause. Take a half a second and pause. Then use a more formal transition word, something like however, or on the other hand, and you just kind of go from there.
Alone, we'll be able to concentrate more, so we'll be able to cover more topic in a short amount of time. And
we'll be able to cover, I would say, more material in a shorter amount of time. So you're saying it's more efficient to study alone as opposed to studying in group. That's the argument you're making.
This type of concentration is really useful for us to remember things in a long term. So I prefer studying alone rather than studying with a group.
Okay. So there you go. So again, your score here, I'm going to put you at 2.6 out of 4, 20 points out of 30. I think with your delivery, you need to improve a few areas. I'm going to add to what I said before. You need to improve your intonation. You also need to improve thought groups and blending. This is pacing. You also need to improve the pronunciation of the T and the D consonant sounds and a few other sounds for that matter. Language use overall, I didn't notice any major problems with vocabulary or grammar. You seem to have pretty good control with that. Topic development, you need a better introduction, something that frames what's happening in your response. Then you can repeat that or rephrase that as you move through the response to create a more coherent organization. You can also use some more specific detail information to help support your ideas. And that's it. And thank you for completing this speaking practice test. If you are trying to get 26 or higher, I would not take the TOEFL exam. You're going to get frustrated. You're not going to reach your goal. You need more time. You're probably looking at about 3 months, maybe 3 or 4 months, because you have some very substantial delivery issues, and you cannot overcome these things in just 4 or 5 days. So if you take the TOEFL exam, you're wasting your money. I'm telling you that right now, if you're trying to get 26. All right, thank you for completing this practice test.